So now we know how to represent concavity or check the concavity of our function, how to find inflection points to determine where concavity changes. But of course, the question is, why do we care about concavity? What information does that tell us that's useful in terms of practical business applications? So we've already established that derivatives tell us about the rate of change of our function. And that's again what we were revisiting in module 7.1. So the second derivative tells us about the rate of change of the first derivative. So what that means is the second derivative is giving us the rate of change of the rate of change of our function. So the first derivative tells us whether a function is increasing or decreasing. The second derivative can help us understand when our function starts increasing, but at a slower rate. So let's consider a curve that is increasing and concave up. And then let's assume it hits some point where the concavity changes. So our concavity changes, we're now going to switch to a curve that's concave down, but still increasing. So what we can see is that in that first section of the graph, this was where we had rapid growth. So if what we're looking at is our profits or sales, whatever it is that we're concerned with increasing, this initial section is where we had rapid growth. Our function's increasing and at a relatively quick rate. Then at this point of inflection, and then for the remaining portion of this graph, our function is still increasing. So whatever it is that we're graphing, sales, profit, costs, that value is still increasing, but increasing at a slower rate. So an inflection point doesn't tell us when something changes from increasing to decreasing. So it's not that our profits have started decreasing. It's not that sales have started decreasing. It's that our function is still increasing, but it's just not increasing as quickly. So essentially, when are we seeing a decreasing return on an investment? So not the idea that we're losing money on an investment, but at what point would an investment start generating less return each month? So still making more money, just not making us money as quickly. Or another question would be, when do the benefits of an advertising campaign start to slow down? So with an advertising campaign, there's going to be hopefully an initial rush where a new ad comes out that generates interest in your product and sales, but after a while the benefits of that advertising campaign start to wear off. You're still increasing sales, you're just not getting as much return or as big of an increase in sales for how much money you're investing. So once we pass the point of diminishing returns, again, values are still increasing. It's just that that rate of increase isn't as quick as before. So they're just not increasing as quickly as they were before. The point of diminishing returns occurs at the inflection point where the second derivative changes from positive to negative. So if we again sketched out a curve here where we have some rapid growth and then at some inflection point, that rate of change, the rate of our growth starts to slow. If we were to look at the second derivative for our graph, we would have a critical value. To the left of that critical value, we would see that our second derivative is positive, meaning concave up. And to the right of that critical value, and then on for the remaining domain for that function, our second derivative is negative, meaning we've changed to a curve that's concave down. So what we're seeing is that rate of change still increasing, just at a slower rate.